A world dance is a dance passed down in a particular culture, in a particular tradition, in a particular spiritual belief system that's passed down from one generation to the next, whether it be a tribe, a clan, or any kind of other group, religious group, sect. They get very specific depending on where you are around the world. The word world dance or the term world dance just refers to a dance that is very particular to a certain culture, tradition, and place that's passed down, honored, and has very symbolic meaning. And the meaning is very much, a lot of world dances, not all of them, are very much connected to various animals and various spiritual traditions, animals of power. If you're trying to connect to a certain animal spirit, you might dance in patterns that are similar to how that animal moves, or it might be associated with different elements or different gods and deities or goddesses or spirits, or a specific purpose, like a conjuring of some kind. But there's all kinds of dances around the world to various cultures. And I didn't want to just, and while I'm 30% Native American, I didn't want to try to, there was nothing passed down to me, and I didn't want to try to copy something from a Native American tribe or something that seems disrespectful. So I'm just going to use, for what I'm going to show you, just to kind of show how these symbols might work and how the various gestures and movements, what they might symbolize and how they might work as far as within the mind, connecting to the world itself, and conjuring a various particular energy. I'm just going to call this whole video kind of like world dance, and I'm going to make up kind of my own dance. And, you know, I've studied a lot of different kinds of dances, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to copy one. And at the same time, I wanted to kind of make up one to where you can kind of get the idea of how to maybe understand a lot of different, just vaguely understand a lot of different world dances, whatever part of the world they're from. There's a lot of world dances in Europe as well. We usually think of Native American tribes when we think of, dancing of this kind, but, there's plenty of dances all around the world. So I just made up kind of my own concept for this, and I'm just going to call it world dance. And I'm going to use some ritual implements that you might see in other kinds of world dances. And while I'm going to use Native American music, this is not to, try to culturally appropriate anything from any particular tribe or any particular people. I'm 15% Aztec and 15% Cherokee, but I don't have any dances from them. It wasn't passed down to me. But yeah, so I'm going to do the dance and explain it. But the dance that I'm going to do and the ritual implements I'm going to do is both symbolizing both connection to earth and animals and plants. And there's going to be a lot of flowing movements and movements that represent cycles and a connection to the sky and the earth by up and down movements, and constant back and forth on the feet, which is kind of both getting the earth's attention and also kind of connecting you to the earth, then also kind of making a rhythm throughout the body. So once again, not appropriating from any kind of particular tribe or any particular kind of group of people. This is just me showing you how some world dances might work, so that you kind of understand that a lot of these movements aren't just, sometimes, world dances are random, but a lot of the time, all the movements have very specific and meaningful symbolism in them, and really connect you to that particular thing. And I'm going to be making a lot of cyclical and kind of like figure eight, like infinity kind of motions, and connecting to earth and sky, a lot of movements like that. But yeah, this is just to kind of jog your mind in how world dances kind of work, and the meaning that can be behind them, but once again, isn't behind a particular people the way I'm going to be doing. I'm going to use Native American music because it'll give you the kind of vibe of what I'm trying to communicate, but just using the music. At any rate, let me go ahead and get to the world dance that I kind of made up in my head previously. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll explain as the video goes along. wasn't too painful. So using the horns, the antlers that I have right there. So a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time in dances when horns are used or when antlers are used, it's to connect to the motions of the animal. The motions of the animal that it does like daily. For instance, a deer, well, in this case, a stag, will, it might drink water, it lower its head, drink water, and then raise its head, smell the air, and maybe look side to side. So a lot of the descending of the antlers and then raising of the antlers, that is replicating the motion of the animal. Similar thing with if you see, like I did, going around in a circle with my hands out like this, that's very much bird-like, replicating the motions of the bird. But in a lot of dances, the back and forth like that on the feet, that is to keep the tempo, that is to kind of tune yourself to some kind of rhythm, some kind of continuous motion, so that your mind is kind of transported into something that's a little bit different level of consciousness. Same reason why people use drums and things like that, and hear a lot of drums in that. And whether it's going like this for a bird, or raising antlers down and up, or it's sometimes tusks will be used, and sometimes when the hands are out like this or fists like this, that often represents man for some cultures, and man just like standing and being resolute upon the earth. But if you see a lot of not in any world not in all world dancers or anything like that, but there's always a combination of when you see it, there's a combination of touching the ground and then touching the sky, kind of making contact with the earth and sky. And that's why there's a lot of, in some dances, that's why there's a lot of looking down and up, because you're looking at the earth, acknowledging it, and looking up, acknowledging the sky. If you see a lot of flowing motions like I did like this, that's cycles. Sometimes it can be birds, but it's also cycles when you see a lot of motions like this. Plus, it gets the whole body swaying like a tree would sway in the wind, or branches might sway. A lot of these motions really resemble pieces of nature and are meant to, and that's what somebody who's dancing like I was, it's what they're supposed to think about. They're supposed to think about those animals, those plants, those trees, and the earth and the sky, and just flow with those continuous motions, and different directions, looking this way, this way, this way, and this way. 4 cardinal directions. You're kind of casting your gaze in a way around the earth and meeting yourself at the back, and then again casting your gaze around the earth, it being a globe, casting your gaze that way. And if it wasn't understood as a globe for a lot of cultures, then it was acknowledging the directions, because the directions themselves, you're basically acknowledging north, south, east, and west, and you're looking those directions, acknowledging those directions. A lot of the time, there's spirits of those directions, or spirits of wind from that direction or to that direction. So there's a contact with the breath and the wind that we experience. That's the contact. And when you look and when you breathe and move that direction, you're meeting that wind spirit, that air spirit, but you're also meeting or meeting the cardinal direction. And you might see 8 directions. So a lot in dances, you might see 8 different directions. But if you work with drums, or you work with dancing of any kind, if you do it for long enough, you start to really feel like it's becoming itself. It's almost like the dance itself has its own life. You kind of pre-program or plan out moves in your head, and then you execute them. If they're not precise, like mine were not precise, then you just keep on going with the pattern, and just kind of pick up where you left off if something feels like it goes off. But you have a certain amount of movements or ways that you move in your head, and then you just replicate those, and you keep on doing those. This has just kind of been a little bit of introduction to what some ideas behind world dances. This wasn't like a course on them. This wasn't like trying to say this is what all world dances are, but a lot of people don't know, just the basic movements of a dance and how it represents different animals and how it represents different elements. I used dragon's blood sage. I used white sage dipped in dragon's blood, or white sage in general. I've been using it for a decade or more. I use it to purify spaces. I use it to purify graveyards, and forests as offerings to spirits, offerings to plants and animals, offerings to gods or deities of some kind. I use white sage all the time. It's so purifying. It's so uplifting. It's very, very cleansing in a kind of pungent way where it's very it hits you with the amount of cleansing that it does. It's almost like your whole system's like, whew, like just all clean. So I don't know why I like sage so much. I don't know if it's because I'm 30% Native American and, Native American from this area in Texas. But I use dragon's blood sage a lot. I also use antlers in a lot of my rituals. And usually for standhas, which is making different runes with your body and using the antlers, no matter whatever rune it might be, you're kind of using the antlers to make that and contact that runic spirit. So that's another way that you might see in various dances. You might see somebody who looks like they're making symbols, like runes, for instance. And from the Norse, the stodhurs or standhas. Stodhurs is usually the right way to pronounce it. But yes, I use antlers a lot in my rituals. I use white sage quite a bit. And when you see the eyes, sometimes when you see the eyes focusing on a source of flame or a source of purification, a source of light in the hand, while you're dancing with the rhythm, you're looking into that dimension. For a lot of cultures, flame is a portal to a different dimension, and it's also a living spirit itself, the flame itself. So you're meeting that spirit with your eyes, and you're kind of having a conversation with the area as you're meeting that spirit with your eyes, and then you and that spirit, you're directing your gaze and directing that spirit's gaze that's in the white sage and in the flame, that direction. It's almost like you're asking a friend to go that direction, you're asking a friend to go that direction, but keeping your eyes on it. That's why you saw my eyes on the sage. That's supposed to represent, sometimes it's with white sage as, the spirit plant itself, and sometimes it's with a light source, or like a dimensional gateway, as it were. So a lot of these motions, and when you saw me kind of like twisted the blanket around, not the blanket, the scarf basically around, and it has skulls on it that are made out of bone, which is very much connecting to animals as well, and death. I work with death energy quite a bit. But when you saw me spinning it like that, that's kind of binding up the energy that's ready to leave after one dies. It can also represent kind of binding up all the energies of the ritual and containing them, and then kind of bringing them back to yourself, or bringing them back to a central place, like the end of a conjuring, end of a casting. You're bringing everything back into your body, and then you're ending the ritual by everything that you cast. You kind of bring it all back. And then that's the end of the ritual. You're bringing everything together. You're bringing everything back to yourself. You're bringing all the spirits kind of back to the original source of conjuring, which is you, because we ourselves are gateways. So binding up the blankets and kind of putting it back on myself. I hope this was useful. I hope that this wasn't offensive to anybody. I tried to distance myself from any particular culture besides, I use a lot of Native American stuff. For instance, that scarf might seem like it. But definitely the antlers and the white sage I use a lot. And, the music that I used in this, it was just for tempo, just for general vibe. But I hope this was useful. I hope that it was interesting at the very least if it wasn't useful. And feel free to ask questions in the comment section below. And feel free to, you can share this wherever you want, but just they'll understand that the caveat is, this isn't one particular dance. This could be a dance from any part of the world. Granted, I was using white sage, but antlers come from all parts of the world. And this was just kind of an introduction to world dances. But yeah, hit that thumbs up down there, like this video if you liked it at all, if you found it interesting, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what y'all think. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and be with your spirits, be with your gods, talk to them often, and all of you, have a wonderful day.